motherfucker, you can't have my cornbread. That's for damn sure. Because if you try to take my cornbread, part 2 of my killing spree gonna begin up in here on your ass right now. If you think about my cornbread, get the taste out your mouth. That's for damn sure. Now fuck him, fuck that, because I'm from New York City, goddammit. Nobody take no cornbread from me. That goes for you and any other you motherfucking farmers wanna try some shit. You fuck around with me, it's gonna be consequences and repercussions.
Haters gonna hate. And ain'ters gonna hate.
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Maestro Styles, Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast with Trey Frazier. What's going on, homie? Trey, can you hear me?
It ain't nothing, man. Just another week in the books.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I was making sure you can hear everybody. All right, so make sure you follow us on Instagram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. You can follow Trey Frazier at Trey Frazier and myself at Maestro Styles. On Twitter, you can follow Trey Frazier at Barbershop SPOR2, and you can follow me at Maestro Styles. Make sure you like the Facebook page, that's Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast, and subscribe to the YouTube page, Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. Let me say quick what's up to Mocha Bella, Miss Mocha Bella of the X Squad. What's going on?
What up? What up?
Hey, look, man. Real quick, I definitely want to say rest in peace to Don Shula, the winningest coach in the NFL, obviously of Miami Dolphin fame in the I guess more so the 80s than the 90s, but but definitely rest in peace to Don Shula, who died at 90 yesterday.
Yeah, rest in peace to Don Shula. Very infamous for the undefeated Dolphins, 1972. Actually took them back-to-back championships back in the 70s. Also coached the Colts when they were in Baltimore for a few years. So he's got, some roots here. Legendary coach, no doubt about it. Yeah. Sad to see him go. Shouts out to his family and everything. And yeah, 90 is it's a long life, but man, definitely, I hope to be 90. Let's put it like that.
Right. And I definitely also want to send prayers out to Damian Williams of the Kansas City Chiefs, running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, who he had a home invasion the other day. He wasn't harmed or anything, but somebody ran up in his house apparently the other day.
Okay.
So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I seen it on Instagram the other day. Yeah. So there's that.
Nobody got hurt though, right?
Nobody got hurt as far as I could tell from any stories I read, but somebody got up in there, and to be honest, I don't even know if they took anything per se, but I would assume so. So
okay.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. Somebody got hurt.
Yeah,
whatever they took is replaceable.
It's replaceable for sure. So
hey, before you go, before you continue, man, I just give a special shout out to not just us here at the Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. I do want to shout out everyone on Instagram that took a part of this 30 Major League Baseball teams 30 days in April little thing that I had going on with the voting on throwback jerseys versus the modern day jerseys. We got through all 30 days last month. We got through all 30 teams. We had almost about 22 to 23 people people voting per team, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, man, I tallied up everything right. So it was a split, like between all 30 teams. There were 15 teams that the majority voted for the throwback, and 15 teams that voted majority for the modern day joints. So, that I thought that was pretty interesting about it. But folks were sharing with me.
You would think people just, I guess, if you had to take a guess at this before you did it, I guess I would have. Let me say, my guess would have been that people would lean towards throwbacks more than they would lean toward modern day jerseys.
Yeah, you would think, man.
Yeah.
And for a while it was the throwback, like the first 10, 12 days of the event. I mean, the majority, it was like almost like 9-3. Like, it was like the throwbacks were in the lead, and then as I started putting more teams out there, everybody went with the modern day stuff. Like, people was talking to me about how they love the logos. Pinstripes for some of the teams is what did it for them in certain teams. Fonts is important to some people. Colors, obviously. And so, every team had their little, special thing about their jersey. And, people wanted to share with me how, whether they just love throwback because they love throwback, or whether they just love the, more modern day because of the pinstripes and whatnot. It was pretty cool, man, to interact with some people, man. And, again, shouts out to everybody that, participated in this event, man. I'm going to say it again. I was more surprised at myself that I was able to do this every day, because there were some days where I had to post something real late, like in the afternoon, just so I wouldn't, forget or whatever.
Right.
And, I managed to pull through, man. 30 days, 30 teams.
Pat yourself on the back, man.
Yeah, man. That deserves a round of applause, man, for certain. for certain, man. So, shout out to everybody, man, that participated, man. Much love. Much love.
All right, so if we can get into it, we can get into it.
Let's do it.
Andy Dalton is now a Cowboy for the foreseeable year. I believe it's a 1-year deal for $7 million with $3 million guaranteed.
1-year deal.
He basically, I saw, I was skimming through some tweets, and they was talking about how he basically said he felt like, out of all of the teams who had interest, that this was the best case scenario for him. React, man. How you feel about this deal?
This deal for Andy Dalton. It's funny.
I'm sorry,
man.
not to cut you off, and just to give a sense of perspective for him saying that he felt like this was the best deal. He was due to make $17.7 million last year, or this year. I'm sorry, and and he went from that to $7 million if he, I guess, he achieves everything in incentives or whatever needs to happen. He stands to make $7 million. We're talking about possibly a $10 million difference, and at best and at most, we're talking about possibly a $14 million difference from
right.
What he was supposed to make had he stayed a Bengal.
Of course, if you're Andy Dalton, you're going to say that after the fact you get cut. Obviously, while he was still with the Bengals, of course, that was still going to be the better deal. But since he got cut, he had no choice but to say what he had to say in regards to the deal he got with Dallas. But I got a couple of gripes, man. I can't front about this one, man. So Andy Dalton gets cut one day, and a couple of days later, he's off the market for the Dallas Cowboys at $7 million for 1 year. I think you had said something like it's actually like $3 million guaranteed, and I guess the other $4 million was with incentives and all that, right?
That's what I'm guessing. Yeah,
man. I don't. Two things. I don't like that Cam Newton is still out there, and I get the whole narrative that Cam Newton is not a backup quarterback. Cam Newton is a starter, and I agree with that narrative that Cam Newton, no matter where he signs with, should be a starting quarterback. But come on, man. Like, who doesn't want Cam Newton? And obviously, there's teams that don't want him. But in my eyes, it's like, come on, man! Like, you telling me Andy Dalton was the best guy on the market in terms of quarterbacks? I don't agree with that. If you're Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, if you're looking for a viable backup, which one, I don't believe that that's the case with the Cowboys. I believe that this is some kind of play to where it involves the Dak Prescott contract situation where they're still trying to get this deal done, and there's this chance that Dak Prescott may sit this one out for a few games, kind of similar to Emmitt Smith back in the day when he sat out for about 3 games, and the Cowboys didn't start off so well, and then they finally gave the man his money, and then next thing you know, the Cowboys took off and they won the Super Bowl that year. So for the Cowboys, this sounds more like them trying to protect themselves in the event that Dak Prescott does not get a deal done with these guys. But nonetheless, it's still something to talk about. You know, when it comes to the Cowboys, they always want you talking about them. So this is just another thing that, this is just another situation. And let me make one final point about this too, right? And I get that it's just $7 million, but I think we talked about this when we were talking about the Titans and who should get paid first. The running back, you pay the running back first, and then you pay the quarterback in their situation. The Cowboy situation, you got to get Dak done, man. You got to get Dak Prescott done first before you go ahead and throw a backup in before you pay a backup in the situation. Like, let's be real. If Andy Dalton hadn't hit the market, the Cowboys would not be making any kind of move to their quarterback backup situation. They would not be making this kind of a move. So I think they just smelt blood. They saw a guy out there that was probably viable, and I won't say probably. I think Andy Dalton at this point in his career is a backup quarterback. But I think they saw blood and decided to draw it.
Well, first, for the Cam Newton thing, Cam Newton's not going to the Cowboys for $7 million, and the Cowboys
Agreed.
And the Cowboys aren't going to pay him. I don't think they would pay him a quarter of what he's worth to come play for Dallas, unless they were talking about getting rid of Dak Prescott, which is not going to happen. At least not this way. So I initially thought that Andy Dalton signing to the Cowboys when at first glance, I thought it was a good deal. I thought it was a good deal for the Cowboys as a backup quarterback. But then I thought about it, and business wise, I still believe it's a good deal. But what it means for me is that this is emphatically, if Dak Prescott holds out, they feel like they're prepared for it now. The Cowboys feel like they're going to be prepared for if they don't reach a deal with Dak Prescott before, I think it's like July 15th or something like that.
July 15th, yep.
Yeah, if they don't reach a deal or if Dak decides he's going to hold out or, whatever happens, they feel like Andy Dalton is their insurance policy. And I already see, I think I saw somebody talking about, if Andy Dalton starts for the Cowboys, this is a 10-win team and all of those fancy things. And is a reason why, and I'm gonna tell you, if the Cowboys are a 10-win team next season and Dak holds out, in my mind, that's more reason for Dak to be like, hey, y'all gotta give me my money, because I think young Dak.
Wait, say that again. Say that one more time.
I think that if Andy Dalton wins 10 games next year, this is not going to hurt Dak Prescott's case in wanting his money. So if they win 10 games, go to the playoffs and realize that they are not in the ballpark with Andy Dalton at quarterback playing quarterback, Dak Prescott comes right back to the table and says, hey, look, y'all tried somebody else for a cheaper price, and here I am, and y'all didn't go no further than y'all would have went with me, except for I'm younger and I got the potential to step up to the next level. We're talking, see, the reason, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, Dak Prescott can eventually, with this team, based on chemistry and what he's, where he's been, this could be a Super Bowl team in 2-3 years if they keep everything together the right way. And they wasting time giving this dude his money. This is why I said they should have paid him a year. And I think you said the same thing. I don't think you had Super Bowl aspirations, and neither do I. This team is best with Dak Prescott at quarterback. If they have Super Bowl aspirations, they're wasting time with Andy Dalton if he ends up having to play all year or a large amount of the year. They looking at this being Emmitt Smith, not reincarnated, because they're not gonna go. I don't got them going to the Super Bowl, but this is going to be that Emmitt Smith situation all over again, where they realize, oh, like, we really needed this dude.
Well, I disagree with a couple things. Number one, if the Cowboys win 10 games, it's not going to, with Andy Dalton at quarterback, if the Cowboys win 10 games, it's not going to be because of Andy Dalton. The number one reason is going to be because of Ezekiel Elliott.
Well, hold on, let me cut you off, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if Andy Dalton wins 10 games with the Cowboys, that's not going to hurt Dak Prescott's case, because Dak Prescott is the X factor to whether this team goes to the Super Bowl or not. Andy Dalton is just going to be another quarterback that can maneuver around the talent of the Cowboys and win 10 games. So we're actually saying the same thing.
Well, I think it could hurt Dak Prescott, and here's why. And it's not even going to be to the fault of Dak Prescott. Let's say, like you said, if the Cowboys win 10 games, and I'm of the opinion that Andy Dalton is not as good at this point in his career as Dak Prescott is at this point in Dak's career. But I think if they win 10 games, it's gonna be more so because of the running game. And after they win these 10 games, and depending on how far the Cowboys get in the playoffs, I think the Cowboys upper management is going to look at this situation and say, whoa, look what we did with Andy Dalton at $7 million a year. We won 10 games. We got to because let's be honest, the Cowboys would have to at least get to the second round with Andy Dalton, if not go to the NFC title game, for them to really be like, okay, I think we can move on from Dak. Like, look, we paid this guy $7 million to almost do, similar things, maybe not statistically, but in the win-loss column, we're right back where we needed to be. We're in the playoffs. He's cheaper. We could use some of that money that we had for Dak to maybe boost some of the talent that's, around the other parts of the Cowboys. I feel like that situation, and especially if Andy Dalton and that team gets off to a hot start. Let's say they go 3-0. Better yet, let's say they go 5-0. But now you're talking about Dak Prescott looking at the situation like, okay, you know what? Y'all gonna have to find me another team to trade me to, man. Like y'all really BSing right now. Like y'all gonna have to, find a deal, find a team that needs a quarterback, make the trade happen, and I need my money. I feel like that situation in that scenario could hurt Dak Prescott's chances of getting big money from the Cowboys. And let me just be clear about that. From the Cowboys. Not necessarily him getting big money from some other team.
I don't know, man. I think, and let's be clear, I think 10 wins could possibly win a division, just based on NFC East's history. That could possibly win a division. But I think what they're going to find out when they go to the playoffs, though, because if the Cowboys they truly believe they got a Super Bowl team, if that's what they believe, and I think just based on how they've been constructing and what they've been doing in the past 2 or 3 years. I think they believe they got a Super Bowl contender type team. Yep. They're gonna go to the playoffs with Andy Dalton and realize they in over their heads. He's in over his head.
Now I get that point. I understand that point. When you look at the career with the Bengals, he hasn't won a playoff game. He's had 4 tries and hasn't really, cashed it in the playoffs.
And hasn't even looked good.
Right, and hasn't even looked good. Now, you could say most of that is him. You could say some of that is Marvin Lewis and the Cincinnati Bengals. You could say part of that is the Bengals themselves because they were losing playoff games before Andy Dalton showed up. So I think you can spread some blame all around when it came to the Bengals under Andy Dalton's watch. But I'll say this also. When I look at the talent that the Cowboys have, and when I look at what the Bengals have had, let's say the last 2-3 years, the Cowboys far and away have the better roster. I mean, sure, you could give me A.J. Green as a top 5 receiver. I totally understand that. But after A.J. Green and possibly Geno Atkins as their best defensive player, that's still far and away not as good of a roster as the Cowboys are right now. So if you give Andy Dalton this roster and come postseason time, they're ready to rock and roll, maybe Andy Dalton can be successful with more talent than he's ever had.
In your mind, does Andy Dalton win a game in the playoffs as a Cowboy if he has to play?
If he has to play out, I believe so. With this talent, with a healthy Zeke Elliott, with Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, and then on that defense, you got, you re-signed Jalen Smith. That's his name, right?
Yeah.
Yep, and you got Van Der Esch and those guys stay healthy, and yeah, I think they can win a playoff game.
I don't know that Andy Dalton's that dude anymore. And let's be clear, playoff wise, he hasn't really been good, but I mean, obviously he's been successful in Cincinnati. I don't think he's that dude anymore. I don't know what has happened, but just in watching him in his last years in Cincinnati, I don't think he's that dude no more. I'll be honest with you. I just don't think he's that dude no more.
Yeah, I think he's had some good games like the past couple of years. I mean, definitely not like spectacular year round, but he's had some games here and there where, he threw for almost 400 yards a game for about, 3 or 4 games throughout the season. But again, I think, and I think you're right in this regard that the Cowboys, minus Andy Dalton, let's be honest, we watched them last year, and the Cowboys blew some games that they should have won last year. So
you mean without Dak?
With Dak Prescott?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
What I'm saying,
okay,
yeah, the Cowboys blew some games. I go back to the Patriot game in Foxborough where they had a chance. Mm-hmm. I go back to when it was in Philadelphia toward the end of the year, and the division was on the line, and they couldn't get it done. So yes. I agree with you in a sense that if there's a reason for the Cowboys to not win a playoff game, I think one reason could be that Andy Dalton is washed. I think the other reason could be is that it's still the same old Cowboys when it comes to this point of the season.
How does Dak Prescott feel about this? Does he hold out now?
If they don't get a deal done by the 15th, he's going to hold out. I think right now there's still some time to get something situated. And let's remember this. The team did offer him $30 million a year. Yeah. There was an offer there. Yeah. So obviously Dak feels like he's worth a lot more. And obviously there's comparables out there to his draft class. We're talking about Jared Goff. We're talking about Carson Wentz. Those guys got their money. And even though those guys went in the first round and Dak went the fourth round in the draft, Dak Prescott has outperformed his draft position by a mile. Yeah. Probably by even more than a mile. He's outperformed it clearly. So, yes, this guy deserves his money. And even if you say he's just worth 30, I'm with him. Hey, I'm going to hold out if I can get a little more, especially more than what Carson Wentz is getting.
He just needs to be making more than Carson Wentz. He needs to be making more than 34.
Exactly.
He needs to be making, and you know, again, with the market, I mean, with the cap raising, he needs to be making 35, 36. It's just no other way around it. He needs to be making 35, 36. And if they're not bringing 35, 36 to the table, I think he holds out. I think he should, and I think he should hold out. His resume is there. His resume is there.
Yeah, no missed games. All 16 games per season. And
for the most part, he's been good. I get he's had, you know, in his 4-year career, he's had a few games and that half a season with Zeke being injured. He had some. But for the most part, he's been a franchise quarterback. He's been a top 5, maybe top 10, I would say, quarterback in the league.
Yep.
And as far as production has it. And you know, he should be paid for that. I don't know if he's top 10 skill wise, but for certain production wise, I'm confident he's been a top 10 quarterback in the league pretty much since he's been there.
And another point I don't want to miss, whether it's Dak or Andy Dalton at the helm when it comes to end of the season, postseason time, let's remember one thing: the Cowboys upgraded the coaching position. There's no more Jason Garrett.
Right.
Now you got Mike McCarthy, who's won a Super Bowl, who's won division titles in Green Bay, who's more experienced as a head coach than Jason Garrett. So let Dak Prescott thrive under Mike McCarthy, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But just don't let the situation.
And right on time is Trey's internet going out. Yeah, so this is Maestro Styles, Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. We going to, Trey, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you went, I mean, I'm sure you know you went out for a second, but.
I did.
Yeah. Just to reset, Maestro Styles, Trey Frazier, Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. And I think in all, just to get a closure on the conversation, you feel like this is a good move for the Cowboys?
I think it's a good move in the event that they can't get something done with Dak Prescott, because let's be honest too, and I don't want to stretch this, they paid Amari Cooper all the money. They got the new head coach. They paid Jalen Smith. This team is built to win now.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're messing up the situation with Dak, but if this thing continues, okay. Okay, that's fine. I don't want to get nobody misconfused or whatever. But if this goes into July 15th and Dak does not have a contract signed with the Cowboys, then this is protection on the back end for Dallas. Andy would be your starter if he sits out, and let's see just how that plays out.
Well, I think it's a good move if they do get the contract figured out. If he gets injured, God forbid, for whatever reason, I like Andy Dalton as a backup. If he got to play 2 or 3 games or 4 games, hell, if he has to do the Teddy Bridgewater, go to Teddy Bridgewater route of last year, and he got to play 5 or 6 games, and I'm okay with Andy Dalton doing that. Me personally, I'm not okay with him having to play a whole regular season and into the playoffs if they make the playoffs. He definitely has the opportunity of having this pit stop to see if he can gain another starting job. I think this is a good deal. I think this is a good deal all the way around. Now, I don't know what the other contracts were, what the other offers were. I wonder if somebody offered him more money or if somebody offered him to start. I would assume not, but,
Well, let's remember, he was on the market for 2 days. Before he got picked up.
And the rumors were that the Patriots and the Steelers gave up offers. That's what the rumor was. So,
okay.
Just to give you just to kind of give you perspective on who was offering and why, possibly he felt like the Cowboys was the better. That don't really make sense to me, to be honest with you.
Right.
I still don't see why the Cowboys was the better option.
So, can we move on to the other signing of the day?
Sure.
Frank Gore, 16-year veteran, signs with the New York Football Jets on a 1-year contract.
Yep.
So Frank Gore's a Hall of Famer, without any question. Just not maybe as popular as some of the top 5 in the history of the NFL in terms of rushing yards, because I know Frank Gore is like in that top 5-ish.
I think he's like 3.
Category. In number 3, right?
I think he's 3.
Okay. So for me, he's a Hall of Fame running back.
Yep.
But I just got to ask this question to the New York Jets: Why?
You know what?
This signing makes no sense to me whatsoever.
It makes sense to me. I get it. They don't. Le'Veon Bell is not. They don't want Le'Veon Bell to be a bell cow. They don't want him to be, carrying the ball 25, 30 times, and including catching the ball, 5 and 6 times a game. They want him to be able to have a break. Now I can't recall who his backups, in the Jets, who the backups are. I guess Bilal Powell. I don't know if he's still there. I don't know if there's another guy I'm thinking about. Bilal Powell and whoever I don't know who the backups are. I know this. Frank Gore is a veteran, and they got a young boy that they stuck with for another 3 years if they can't do nothing with Le'Veon Bell's contract.
LaMichael Perrine, Kenneth Dixon, Josh Adams, Jalen Moore, Trenton Cannon.
Bilal Powell still there or no?
He's not there.
Okay, yeah. Well, I get it then. They need a good running back, and it's not like they're gonna ask him to, carry the ball 300, 400 times. If he carry the ball, if he gets you 450 yards next season, and they not garbage yards, he probably had a good year. He probably had a good year that year.
Man,
and
I mean,
I'm not going to hate on. I ain't going to lie to you. In a secondary role, I'm not going to hate on Frank Gore making a little money at 37.
Yeah, no, I get the aspect of it, but it just doesn't. I mean, when we talk about the running back position and how it's just so easy to just take another guy at a cheaper and look, this money is probably going to be cheap for Frank Gore. This is most likely a cheap contract, but I'd rather pay cheap for a guy that could give me a lot more than what Frank Gore can give you. I get it, he's going to get you 450 yards, if that. I get it that he's somewhat of a positive presence in the locker room, which is what people and players have been saying about Frank Gore. I get that part of it. Hell,
I think he's better than Kenneth Dixon right now.
And that's possible, because I haven't seen Kenneth Dixon all of last year, so I really don't know that to be the case. But that's highly possible. But other than possibly trying to take some signs from Buffalo, because he was in Buffalo last year
and had a good year, by the way,
and had a good year. Other than trying to get some inside info, and that would be typical Jets. I just don't see how this signing makes any sense to me. Shout out to Frank Gore for getting that money, though.
Yes, indeed.
I ain't mad at that, but just a guy to back up Le'Veon Bell. I hope that they have some young guy that's like the third string running back that, as the season goes along, that if you're trying to spell Le'Veon Bell, and for the most part you're trying to spell Frank Gore too, that young boy can carry the load, because we don't know about Sam Darnold just yet. 2 years under his belt. Granted, he's had some injuries, but we don't know about Sam Darnold yet. So you want to have a running game that's respectable at this point.
Yeah, and Frank Gore is respectable. I mean, you got to give him that.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
again,
30.
and if especially if you're not depending on him to, be the guy.
Yeah,
I'm not against it. Let me say what's up to RC and Vince Wright. I saw RC asks, would I approve Cam going to the Steelers, or should he wait until a starting job open up? I would approve him coming to the Steelers. Period. Is that realistic? No. But if he could come to the Steelers, and because here's the thing, I want Ben Roethlisberger to finish out these last 2 years of his contract. That's what I want. Because I think what's been built there right now, I think we got a little small shot. I'm just going to throw it out there.
It's a team ready to win now.
We got a small shot. That's all I'll say. And that's not to say that Cam Newton couldn't do it. I'm saying that Ben Roethlisberger has been here. He knows what it is, and it's no turnover for chemistry right now with Ben Roethlisberger in that offense. So that's why it's just not realistic for him to come. But if we could pay him, a second string quarterback price, and then when it's his time, get him his money. I'd be with it 100%. But I be honest, I'm cool with Ben Roethlisberger, and I'd rather Ben Roethlisberger right now than Cam Newton, because if we get Cam Newton, then Ben Roethlisberger's gone. That's just period.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about somebody that's gonna replace Ben for the future, Jameis would have been the guy, not Cam Newton. I think if you're signing Cam Newton, then he's going to be on the bench until Ben decides to hang it up, and then after that, Cam is 32 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know how the Steelers would feel about having a Cam that's 33 years old and at that point in his career.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and then there's that thing. Do we know if Cam back? And he's gonna have, and then he's gonna have to improve. But look, I know he got a good, strong arm, and accuracy got to improve. It got to improve, especially as he getting older, because he ain't gonna have all that running and all that speed and all that all that is gonna start dwindling. So then you gotta hope he got it together as far as, I mean, and it's not to say he a bad thrower, but I like to see him be a little better as a thrower, getting up there in age. But I love to take
and let me be clear. I want to see Cam start somewhere. I don't want to see Cam in a backup role.
Facts.
So, don't get it twisted. I want to see Cam start someplace. I don't want to see Cam, backing up somebody. Pause. So, that's that.
Yeah. Have you seen this Twitter, I guess, topic of Pascal Siakam versus Paul George?
No, I haven't seen that.
Apparently, I want to say it was. Well, it was somebody on ESPN. I can't remember who the basketball player was, but basically, the guy said he'd take Pascal Siakam over Paul George right now. And then the conversation started about who's the better player, Pascal Siakam or Paul George. Your take, Pascal Siakam or Paul George?
Paul George. I'm taking Paul George.
Right now?
But
in 2020?
Right now in 2020, I'm taking Paul George. However, whoever said that, whoever started the conversation and said they take Pascal Siakam, I believe I understand why.
Yeah, because I would take Pascal Siakam.
You would take Pascal Siakam?
I would, and I'm not high on Pascal Siakam. Okay. I would take Pascal Siakam right now.
Okay, and I understand why, and I think it has a lot to do with Paul George and the injuries that he's had, in the past couple of years. If you're talking just about not just a guy that's got skills, but a guy that's available, that's always available and never gets hurt. And to my recollection, I don't never recall Pascal Siakam being hurt. So if we're going off of that, then I understand. But just for the sake of, who's been doing it longer, who's been more consistent at it at this point, I'll take Paul George.
Okay. All right. I ain't really have too much in that. I saw it, and I swear I should have just wrote it down in my notes who the guy was, but they was putting together some type of a team for whatever reason they were doing it, and it started this big conversation about Pascal Siakam versus Paul George. Have you managed? And I'm kind of quick hitting right now. Have you seen?
Let's do it.
I'm on my last. I think I'm on my last quick hitter.
Let's do it.
Is Mike Tyson? Should Mike Tyson be making a comeback? Are we here for that? Are we here for Mike Tyson making a comeback at 53?
I'm here for the Mike Tyson impersonations. I'm here for Mike Tyson trying to ride a hoverboard and busting his ass off of a hoverboard. I am not here for Mike Tyson to be going back in the ring at age 53 years old. I'm just not.
No.
Greatest of all time.
I don't know if he's the greatest of all time, but he
one of the greats.
One of the greats for certain. Did you see the video of him training? Or
I did not see the video, but I heard that he was sparring with a trainer.
He was just training. Yeah, I wouldn't call it.
Yeah,
it's training, and and them things still look potent. They they look like they hurt. They look like they knocked somebody out.
Yeah. It's grown man strength. He got that.
But
definitely got that.
But then I started seeing conversations of, he'll knock out Wilder, which he'll knock out the heavyweights that are running the game right now. He'll knock all them out right now at 53, and that's where it's like, all right. I get it. I get the nostalgia. I get that he looks in shape. He looked like a guy who used to box. Them things look like they hurt. He looked like he could box, but nah. Nah.
Yeah.
A shout out to Vince Wright. Vince Wright says he's training for an exhibition fight. Okay.
All right.
I'd be interested in seeing that exhibition fight. And for all the Mike Tyson, he could come back and knock out the heavyweights of today. I hope he wins. Mm-hmm. And I hope he wins cleanly.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't embarrass himself.
Yeah, I don't think he will though. I'll be honest with you. Just looking at the video, he could put up a good fight in an exhibition, I think.
Yeah, I heard someone say that his last fight is like his last true fight, which was 15 years ago. Was not a good one, and I don't remember who his opponent was.
I don't know who it was even at
that time.
I don't remember who it was.
But they said it didn't look good for Mike Tyson. So.
Yeah. An RC and resident boxer aficionado RC right on time. Anybody can beat up on the air. It's over for Tyson, and it's been over for about 20 years. Yeah. Mocha Bella, we did see you, and we gave you a shout out because you were the first person in the chat room, ma'am.
Yeah, we definitely gave Mocha Bella a shout out.
We gave you a shout out. We saw you, but here go another one for you. Shout out to Miss Mocha Bella of the X Squad doing the damn thing.
Big Kev in the chat room.
What's up, Big Kev? We see you. So episodes 5 and 6 of The Last Dance.
Yes, sir.
I think we all agree that that Kobe tribute, or that Kobe talking about Jordan and Doc was a little thug tear might have came out if you wasn't prepared for that. Of course, and right on time. Yes, we did give you a shout out. Trey, you here? Trey?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Yeah, I went out for a minute.
Yeah, I see.
Yep, I did go out for a minute, but I overheard you say during the Kobe section of the episode,
Yeah.
You're talking about, shedding a little tear, a little thug tear.
Yeah, I think
Kobe.
if you wasn't prepared for that, you might have shed a little thug tear.
I was not prepared for it, and I did think about it like, damn, like, we watching Kobe talk about him, being who he was because of Michael, and he not alive to see this documentary. That just kind of, had me for a minute there. It was like, damn, man, and not only did it remind me of that, of him not being around, but it also reminded me of, the situation we're in now, with everybody's home and where the year 2020 has just not been one of the best years in recent memory. It really hasn't. Starting with the death of Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
But I did take something out of what he said, and one of the things he said was that those 5 championships that he got with LA, that wouldn't have been if it wasn't for Michael. Him and his, their relationship, off the court, and some of the things that MJ was, giving to him about, as a young cat. Those 5 chips, he said, man, that wouldn't, that wouldn't happen if it wasn't for Michael, kind of showing me some things and teaching me some stuff. So,
yeah.
So I thought that was cool to hear him say that, even though I think we kind of knew before the documentary that this went right. So this was no surprise there. But yeah, seeing Kobe, talk and knowing that he's not around to see this, it did kind of put a damper on things.
Yeah. And while we're on the topic of Kobe, his wife's birthday is today, I want to say. She just turned 38, so happy birthday. Condolences to her.
Happy birthday.
And Gianna's birthday was like last week or something. I know we passed it. Yeah, so just a little.
Oh, man.
Yeah, just a little. Of course.
Rest in peace, Gianna.
Yeah. And man, it's crazy. Man. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, great.
So right off bat, the knock coming from Vince Wright and RC is that Michael Jordan is a snitch.
Well, I think we figured that out a few episodes ago, right?
When he's talking about Scott Burrell, right?
Yeah. I think we figured that out in the last episodes, not the ones that just aired. Look, man, MJ was telling all the business, man. Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because I'm thinking of, while I'm watching that scene with Scott Burrell, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, this isn't even the social media era. No Twitter, no Instagram, no none of that stuff. So I could only imagine, with this stuff being around now, had they done that during this era, man, you just outing a brother, just like that. Well, MJ was dry snitching, man.
Yeah,
he was telling it all.
He was snitching, and they're referring to Horace Grant when they basically saying that Horace Grant was leaking information to
book, right?
Sam Smith, his Sam Smith book, and that they was getting the information from Horace Grant. Horace Grant did deny that, if I'm not mistaken. He definitely did deny it and say that wasn't coming from him and that it was coming from everybody else. But interesting. For me, I think it was good. It was interesting for me to see in real time. Well, not real time, but like kind of in depth, the whole his stance on politics, and that for him making the money was way more important than his stance on political issues, and that he made a effort to say, look, I don't want no. I'm trying to sell as many shoes as I can sell, and I ain't trying to piss nobody off and getting in the way of that.
Yeah, and I think that was sort of, and I tweeted about this when that scene came about, that this was the part of the documentary where LeBron fans are going to come out and say, see, this is why LeBron is greater than Jordan, because at least LeBron is speaking out about these issues, and Jordan back in this day decided to, keep it hush hush. I don't knock Jordan necessarily.
And they ain't got nothing to do with being on the court.
Right. It's got nothing to do with being on the court. But I don't knock Jordan because, at the time, there really wasn't nobody even really threatening as an athlete to, come out and, whether it's defend somebody or degrade somebody. And, I did kind of learn a little bit of history there because I was, at the time, I mean, we're kids and stuff, so we're not, privy to politics and things like that. Yeah. But the whole thing about that, what was the white boy name? What was the white dude name? The racist?
I don't know the dude's name. The guy that it seemed like he was supporting as opposed to Harvey Gantt, though.
Yes, that guy.
I don't remember his name. No,
it definitely appeared that the dude's policies that he was trying to put in place was definitely against us as a community and not tailored to our needs at the time. Yeah. So I do understand at that time if people wanted someone to, speak out on that. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that was around the time Jordan won the first chip, right? Mm-hmm. Or when did that? Was that around when he won the first chip?
If I'm not mistaken, yes.
Okay, so Jordan really hadn't, and I get he had the Nike deal already.
He was 27 years old.
He was a young cat. He definitely didn't reach his earning potential. I do get that he had the sneaker deal. And oh, by the way, speaking of the sneakers, man, I can't front, but when they said that Converse had the deal with the NBA at the time, I'm like, wow, those Converses, at the time look pretty fly. I get they're not on the same level as Nike, but
and they certainly weren't when in those times.
In those times, they certainly weren't.
Jordan just
the look of the Converses, I was like, man, I remember when they still, sold those maybe, 10 years ago, and probably still sell them to this day. Probably. I haven't seen them in a while.
Yeah, I've never been high on Converse. It might have been like I can recall maybe the Larry Johnsons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I owned a couple of Converses back in the day.
And Chucks. I mean, you can't go wrong with some Chuck Taylors. But
no doubt.
Yeah, but I'm glad Jordan came and built Nike up to where it is now because I just never been a fan of Converse.
Give credit to his parents because his parents really pushed him to sign that deal because Jordan was this close to not signing it. So right. I give a little more credit to particularly his mother because she was very adamant about, yo, Mike, this is the deal. Like that, this can't get no better. So, I want to shout out Mom Dukes for, helping put that together. As far as when they went against the Knicks, though,
man,
I heard. Man, I'm like, they really gonna show the Charles Smith Memorial? they really gonna show Game 5? Like, come on.
How many times did you see Patrick Ewing getting dunked on?
Well, Pippen dunked on him, right? Pippen dunked on him, right?
Huh?
Pippen dunked on him, right?
For certain.
And Jordan dunked on him.
And Jordan dunked on him, yeah.
Yeah. Ewing got, he got abused. But needless to say, we were up 2-0 in that series.
Yeah.
We were up 2-0, and that Game 5 was the difference, man. That was the difference in the series.
When Jordan decided, all right, let me run 3 straight on y'all.
Man, unreal, man. And to this day, right? At some point, Charles Smith had to get fouled, right? I'm just thinking to this day, like
maybe.
I'm just thinking like they just swallowed the whistle right there, like 4 times.
Yeah,
4 times.
Yeah,
the dude get his shot blocked at the rim, And by the way,
hey man, I ain't seen no foul, bro.
And by the way, he missed a couple free throws prior to that sequence.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if people remember that, but he had a meltdown toward the end of that game 5. And I would assume that the people that were doing this documentary were trying to reach out to Charles Smith, and he declined to comment.
Yeah, I would decline to comment too when you was getting dogged in the paint. I ain't see I seen domination. I seen defensive greatness in that paint. That's what I saw.
Come on, don't rub salt. Don't rub salt on the wound, man.
Greatness.
Don't do that.
RC in the chat room that the political stuff was disappointing, but at least MJ owned it. Folks are comparing him to OJ in terms of not taking a stand, but MJ did donate money to his campaign.
Yeah, I hate that comparison.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know. Let me tell y'all something about my knowledge of politics, let alone sports and politics. The extent of my knowledge of politics back in the 90s is Marion Barry and Marion Barry first and foremost, and then maybe Clinton. Marion Barry is everything. When I think politics, I think Marion Barry.
Mm-hmm. And growing up in New York City at that time, it was David Dinkins. We had a black mayor. And, when Giuliani got into office, Jadakiss made a rap song about Giuliani saying Giuliani put niggas took niggas off the street, locked them up. So that's all I knew in regard to politics there.
Shout out to Marion Barry, legendary mayor. Rest in peace. So, the Isaiah Thomas segment of the documentaries. Look, man. Look, and let's be clear. I stand firm in that Isaiah Thomas should have been on the Dream Team. But it's hard to be in the position that Isaiah Thomas was in, being, the bad boy, the leader of the bad boy Pistons, and you're gonna get enemies with that. You're gonna get enemies with that style of basketball, and he had a few of them.
Yeah, and whether Jordan was the culprit behind that or not, let's remember, and I'll say it like I said last week, he knocked off Bird, he knocked off MJ, he knocked off Magic. And that's the crown jewels of the NBA right there.
And they had issues. And they had issues.
And yes, they had issues.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. I appreciate Isaiah Thomas even more.
Yeah.
I appreciate him even more. I hate that he got dogged on the 92 team for not being on the team, but I mean, as I see more in this documentary, man, and every time Isaiah has to say something, man, I really appreciate, I appreciate what he did as far as the NBA goes more. Now, if someone were to tell me that, the dude's an asshole, in real life, I could believe that.
You could believe that?
I could believe that.
Nah, I ain't got no reason to feel that way. I mean, he talks so pleasant.
Yeah. That's the ones you got to watch out for sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
Maybe that's why people think he's an asshole, but it is what it is. He didn't do my Knicks any favors, I'll tell you that much.
And I don't have a problem with assholes, so.
You got anything else on episodes 5 and 6?
Nope. I'll tell you this. This had, through the good and the bad of Michael Jordan and the Bulls in that last year, my view of Michael Jordan has not changed. Let's be clear. Look, I get it. He's done some questionable things, and he has snitched, and that he definitely is. He didn't support a specific political party. Look, the dude is still the greatest basketball player ever, and has the premier standard of sneaker collection, period. And I don't think that's going anywhere no time soon, even with LeBron. And LeBron is up to like 17 pairs of shoes. And no LeBron is as legendary as any Michael Jordan tennis shoe that's ever come out. So my take on Michael Jordan, my view of Michael Jordan just hasn't changed in lieu of some of the things that we're finding out in this documentary.
I do have something I want to say that does kind of bother me, as from episodes 1 all the way through 6 now. I do hate the fact that LeBron's name comes up on Twitter every now and then. I do hate the fact that, and there's someone in particular that's on my timeline on Facebook that every chance he gets, it's almost like he's the black Skip Bayless, just wants to take digs at LeBron. It's like, look, y'all, let both guys be great. You know what I mean? These guys, let's be honest, they're not comparable. I compare LeBron James more to Magic Johnson than I do Michael Jordan. And then there's the other part. I did forget about this. So when they were talking about the people that Michael was, associated with in regards to the gambling, the dude that they busted, I forget the guy's name. Forgot his name.
Damn it, you gonna make me, because I just
and I just heard his name too.
I just heard it. Yeah, I know. I just heard it somewhere. Ago. Yeah,
and I can't remember the guy's name, but getting to like the crux of it, right? So he's involved with associations with these guys, and it turns out Michael claimed that he had no idea that these guys were involved in the situations they were involved in. So when the media started asking him about stuff, he kind of shut them out for about 2 weeks, they said. He shut the media out. A matter of fact, there was a scene where one guy was saying, look, I get there was a commercial about I want to be like Mike, but let's be real. I don't want to be like Mike when it comes to what you got to deal with, off the court, with the media, your fans, the pressure, that kind of a thing. So when Michael came out and was like, this whole thing with the media, saying that I have a gambling problem and, and this and that, and it just sort of kind of drove me away, from the game a little bit. And that's where we kind of found out, okay, this is partly, if not partly, the reason why he left in 93. So I got a couple questions. Number one, do you think Michael Jordan had a gambling problem back then?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I think, but here's the thing about gambling. One, life is a gamble. Two, if you got the money to gamble,
yep,
then it's like, you might have a problem, but it's like, all right, if you ain't hurting nobody, you ain't, you know what I'm saying, you ain't affecting your family crazy, you ain't got nobody knocking down your door trying to get their money, duct taping your kids or nothing crazy.
Yep.
Man, let that man gamble, man. Let that man gamble. It's about being, it's the fact, it's probably, and like he said, really, is more about him just having an issue with being competitive. But look, if me looking at him talk about it to your boy, he might have a gambling problem. He looked like somebody who, like him explaining it looks, I got the vibe of, oh, this nigga really do got a gambling problem. I think he might have.
Yeah, I think, and I'll disagree, just kind of based off of what I've seen, and I watched the scene where they're flipping the quarter into the corner of the wall. Yeah. I'm watching the scene where they're playing blackjack on the plane, they're playing poker in the back of the plane, that kind of a thing, and where he talks about, I have a competitive problem. I don't necessarily have a gambling problem, it's more so being competitive. I don't know if I just got no choice but to take him at his word, but based on what I've seen and based on how competitive he is with not just basketball, but with everything, it seems like in life, I'll go on the side that, okay, maybe he doesn't have a gambling problem, and maybe the competitive side of gambling, because let's be honest, there's a competitive side to, trying to win and lose money too. Yeah. There's a strong competitive side to that.
And let's be clear. I mean, and I guess to be clear, he didn't. It's not like he needed the money. So I mean, I get people who are on the side of being competitive. I think my response goes to, so he, I forget, it might have been him or I forget who was telling the story. It was Paxson telling the story. And he was talking about how they would be in the back playing for thousands, Jordan and Pip and Burrell, and then after they get done, he would go to the front of the plane with Paxson and some and be like, let me get in on this. And he was like, well, nigga, you was just over there. And he was like, nah, now I want to play over here. I want your money too. And for me, that seems more like I need to gamble than it seems like I gotta compete.
I mean, in that situation, you may be right. In that situation, yes, I would lean slight towards that. I will also point to when they were playing the Blazers in the finals in '92, and when the media was trying to make the Drexler Jordan comparison, like, oh, it's this guy going against that guy, and Michael was like, look, I don't doubt Drexler's talent, but that nigga ain't me. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give it to this dude when these finals begin, and the nigga knocked down like 8 threes in a row on Drexler and, basically schooled the homie. Yeah. So, when I look at that kind of competitiveness and I see it apply to whether it's gambling, whether it's, anything that they showed, anything that they talked about with him just to you down, no matter how big or small the game or competition is, that nigga hate losing.
Yeah,
with anything, that nigga hate losing.
Yeah, that's a fact. But I think he might have had a gambling problem. I would, and then the thing is that he gambled anytime he could gamble, like golf, and what I'm saying. Like he gambled anytime he could gamble. So it's like you could be competitive at golf and not put money on it. You could be competitive at playing quarters and not put money on it. And hell, even blackjack. True. You can do all of these things and not have money and not put money on it. I get that the stakes are higher with money on it, and that may drive a competitive edge, but. And
it was available. And the money was available.
Yeah.
That's the other part to it.
Yeah.
Let the situation be if money wasn't available. Would he still have that competitive fire?
I don't know. And let's be clear. I don't know. I mean, because it's not like, let's be clear. I don't know that I believe that because, like, he was playing the security guard for $20. Like, I don't know, man.
And I did get some inside info that dude, that security dude from back in the day, the dude died last week.
Wow.
I've been seeing that on Twitter a lot since the episode aired. So if that's the case, then rest in peace to the homie.
And I was just getting ready to say that was definitely about to be the next shirt I got made. Was the dude, the security guard doing the Jordan shrug. Trey, you there?
Hey, you're going to have to repeat that, Maestro. I didn't know what you said about the security guard.
I said that was definitely about to be the next shirt I got made was the security guard doing the Jordan shrug. That was definitely my next shirt.
That it could still be the next shirt.
No. I mean, it's going to be. I didn't mean like I was going to stop as he passed.
Okay.
No, that's. Actually,
okay. I was about to say. Yeah.
My mind, that's more reason to get the shirt, but.
That'd be dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
RC in the chat says they didn't cover it, but MJ embarrassed Drexler every day in those Dream Team practices that same year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, he embarrassed a lot of people in that one practice. In that one practice that they talked about in the documentary when Matty Johnson and whoever else was talking trash to him, and
right.
Yeah.
I got one more thing on this.
Okay.
So when they were talking about Tony Kukoc and when they played in the Olympics and Kukoc was on the Croatia team and versus the USA, I didn't like how Michael Wilbon was saying how, Americans, and it almost sounded like he was trying to be general with it, but I think he was trying to say specifically Michael and Scotty and those guys, how they didn't understand what Kukoc was going through at the time, because they did kind of go into depth about what he and the country, back home, the things that were going on and the things that he lived through. And, they went so deep into that. Wilbon, came in and basically said, oh, these guys had no idea what, Kukoc went through. And I think that second go round, after the bad game that Kukoc had in the Olympics, he backed it up with a much better performance. And, basically saying Kukoc, is stronger than people give him. I got to give Wilbon a little bit of smoke here. And it's not because of what he said about Kukoc, because I believe everything that he said about Kukoc, to be, correct. He did go through some stuff, back home in a different country, compared, maybe slightly compared to what's going on here.
I mean, but not even slightly. They was in war. They was in,
right. They were in war. But come on, man, we black over here. I mean, I'm not trying to compare war to, poverty and, some of the things that, we go through here. But I don't think that Jordan and Pippen was oblivious to what Kukoc was going through back then. I didn't feel like I didn't feel like Wilbon, let them off the hook for that. I felt like he was trying to, let them know, like, hey, like, you don't understand what's going on over there. And maybe they didn't to a certain degree, but don't make it seem like Jordan and Pippen and those guys, they had it all good. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't think he was making it seem like he had it all good. And to disagree with you on that point. Yeah, war is pretty bad, bro. I mean, I ain't never personally been there to, war is pretty bad, and he was going through it right now, whereas Jordan and Pippen was, well, at least in Jordan's, well, I mean, even in Pippen's case, they was making millions of dollars and, living the life. I get the whole black, the whole black thing, but in this case, I would, if we got to compare struggles, I would give Kukoc's struggle to be a little more crucial than Jordan and Pippen's struggle, if we're going to make that comparison right now in this conversation. But to further to the point, if they did or didn't know, that has nothing to do with what was happening on the basketball court. They didn't like the fact that Tony Kukoc was being considered a priority. And that Krause was going to go see him play in Croatia and all that, while Jordan and Pippen was right there dominating. They didn't like that, so they had to. It even seemed like they was kind of giving him a hazing, trying to bring him in to see if he could hang, and with American basketball. They should have did this whether they knew about the conditions in Kukoc's country or not. I'm 100% with what they did, and I'm 100% with the fact that Kukoc came back and was like, "All right, let's get it. Now we know what we. Now I know what we're doing. Let me come back the second game and make sure I have a good game." And Jordan even said it like he earned his respect after that. So it's like, I think that was all in all a good sequence in the story.
Yeah, I want to be clear. I don't want to compare struggles, and I wasn't trying to say that Wilbon was doing that. I was just saying that I think Wilbon was trying to say something to those guys to make it seem like they had no idea. And who knows? Maybe they didn't have any idea. I think he did allude to Tony Kukoc's toughness. I think he did say that. I'd have to go back and watch the episode again. But I do believe that he alluded to the toughness of Tony Kukoc. And, I just wanted to, kind of make that clear.
Sure. I don't know if you got anything else, but I'll go to my last topic.
Well, let me look at my notes real quick. I actually did. I did have some thoughts on the Alex Smith documentary. I don't know if you watched that.
Smith had a documentary. Alex Smith, the Washington Redskin, Alex Smith, formerly of Kansas City and San Francisco fame.
Yes.
So so obviously they're covering the injury and if he's his attempt to coming back.
Yes. It was covering that. So good. You don't have to see it then.
I mean, I might watch it. Probably not, but I might watch it.
You're not gonna watch it.
Was it interesting? Did you?
You know what? Well, if you can't stand to watch gruesome things, like in terms of surgeries and how things look, then this is not the documentary for you.
Okay.
Because and I totally forgot about this when that injury happened and he got that first surgery. I forgot that there was a report that came out weeks later saying that that first surgery didn't go so well. Mm-hmm. And I never heard anything about it again after that. So as I'm watching the documentary, I think it was Friday night it came on. So after they did the first surgery, and so it's Alex Smith talking, it's his wife talking, and I think it was the surgeon that was doing some narrating too. They were saying how all of a sudden Alex Smith had this fever going. He had something else take place. It was something, but it almost looked as if it had nothing to do with the leg initially. Mm-hmm. It just had possibly maybe to do with the surgery itself, that he suffered some complications from just going through the surgery. Mm-hmm. and it showed. I mean, he had a fever. He had all types of things going on with him, respiratorily, immune system, things like that. And man, I got to tell you, when they had to go and do those multiple surgeries, the second, third, fifth time,
yeah,
man, they had to. I mean, they were almost talking about him, happening to make the decision to amputate his leg.
Wow,
that's how serious that thing got. Yeah. And you talk about bacteria, flesh eating bacteria. Man, yeah. I don't wish that on nobody, bruh.
Yeah, I don't want to see that.
That stuff is that stuff is, it's no joke at all. But I give him props though, man, because if I went through something like that, I don't know how I would react. I don't know if I'd make the wrong decision to amputate my leg or what. But the dude made the right decision. He said, nah, I want to keep my leg. I feel like, we have a chance. I feel like there's some strength to it. And they went ahead. They did, some surgeries. They did some things. And the dude was walking. He had, we had to have the little scooter joint for a little bit. He was on crutches for a while. And I guess it was his past season. He went to a game this past season, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Where he was in the box at the Redskins. Yeah. Yeah, the dude is walking. Like, no crutches, no scooter, no nothing, man. The dude is walking. Now, he's got he's got some kind of stocking on that leg. Which I guess is I guess it's called a compression stock,
okay,
or something like that. So he's got that, and he's been training. He's been in the weight room. He's been strengthening the leg, and I mean, the dude he looked fresh as new, bruh. Now, would I advise him to go back and play in the NFL again? I'd be like, bruh, you've made some money in your career.
He's still on the Redskins roster.
Yeah, he's still on the roster there. You've made some money in your lifetime. You've actually resurrected yourself. Once not when he went to Kansas City, but when Harbaugh got to San Francisco, he kind of revitalized the direction of where his career was going, because after the first 5-6 years in San Fran, it wasn't going well. And then Harbaugh comes in, and all of a sudden the dude is, performing at the position a whole lot better. and then he kind of proved that, in Kansas City, and then he proved it for a little bit when he was with the Skins.
Redskins was looking like a playoff team, man.
Yeah, they were 6-3 before that injury. Yeah. They was leading the division at the time. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that. So, I got to give props to Alex Smith, man, because I don't know if I was in that situation, how I would react and what I would do, man. But that's just remarkable.
Well, I know one thing. He definitely still does have the guys and the resources of the NFL health insurance.
Yeah.
And then he got he got a couple millions to, try to figure it out. So, that's not to say that it's any less remarkable that he is walking. But it is to say that he had the resources to get it done. If I had those resources, I mean, hell, to be honest with you, if I didn't have those resources, the last thing I'd be trying to do is cut off my leg. I'm just vain like that. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm not gonna watch it. But for those who may be interested in that kind of gory stuff, have at it. Do you know the name of the documentary?
Project 11.
And where was it?
It was,
Where did you watch it at?
Oh, it was on ESPN.
Okay.
It was on ESPN. It's one of the E60 specials.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I figure since it's no sport, and since we're kind of in documentary mode with the Bulls and all that, and they were kind of promoting that Alex Smith documentary a little bit, so it came on Friday. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna watch this thing. I'm gonna definitely, pay much attention to it. And matter of fact, Inova Hospital in Virginia. That's where he was at.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. He was with some good people over there. Because my wife, works in healthcare, and she spoke with some people that actually have done some things at Inova Care. So
okay.
So they, he was with the right people.
All right. Last topic. So I saw somewhere, I guess it's supposed to be big news, that they are talking about sporting events without crowds happening as soon as the top of the month in June. Are we okay with watching sports without crowds on TV? If it happens in June. If it happens in June.
Well, it depends. Now let's go sport by sport. If we're talking baseball, then no, I'm not watching. I mean, I'm not watching with the fans. If it's baseball in June, I'm not watching with fans until postseason starts.
Right.
If we're talking NBA, and they say, you know what, instead of completing the regular season, we're going to go right into the playoffs, I got a problem with that. Yeah. I really do, because I think the games intensify when there's large crowds of people in the stands at these arenas. I really do. I think it makes watching the game more entertaining than it just being the product that you see on the floor. It's everything. I mean, watching a basketball game on TV is everything, from crowds to the game itself to maybe, if some people care about commentary, then it's that too. But having crowds in the stands also is what makes some of these players perform better. So I think, if, let's say, the NBA comes back, right, and they go into playoff mode, let's keep in mind, these guys haven't been to practice facilities. Some of these guys haven't been able to work out to the routine that they normally do.
Right.
I heard the Greek Freak talk about he ain't got no basketball court in his yard at his house. Oh. So I'm like, wait a minute, you the Greek Freak and you ain't got a hoop?
Such a misfortune to not have a basketball court in your backyard.
I'm like, that don't sit right with me. If you the Greek Freak, if you one of the best players in the league, that doesn't sit well. So getting to my point, you're going to expect some sloppy play when these guys, kind of get back into the way of playing basketball. And it's bad enough there's going to be less people at these games, if not no people at the games. Now you're going to put product on the court that's not going to be in the best of shape that they could possibly be. So I think the viewing experience is not going to be, it's going to be different. No question about it, it's going to be different, but it's just not going to be exciting. It's not going to be the same.
Yeah, but it's going to be better than what we got right now.
It's intriguing. I do agree it's going to be intriguing, and I will watch.
It's going to be better than what we got right now. And see, here's the other piece. If we really wait, till the end of this virus, this pandemic, and we don't even really know when it's going to end, even though in my mental mind, it's about to end in my mind, it's about to end in the next 2 weeks. That's just my prediction.
Okay.
I just feel it's just
okay.
It's just what I feel. I don't have no intelligence. I feel like it's going to be over in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I think I really think by June 1 ish.
Okay. Well, that's a month away. So
yeah. I think it'll be over. I think the government will have figured out the information they need to figure out by spreading this virus to begin with. But I think it'll be over. But if it's not, in my mind, it's selfish. It's me being selfish. Let's be clear. I want to watch sports, and
everybody.
I want to watch sports. But the responsible part of me is like, well, look, if we ain't right, we ain't right, because to televise a basketball game is still going to take however many people. If it's going to be commentary, that's going to be 2 or 3 more people. If there's going to be, are they going to allow the analysts that are in studio? Are they going to allow them to go back and be in studio? Or are they going to have to live stream from their homes talking about what happened in the game? You're still talking about about 50 people, and at least 20 of them that may or may not be able to respect social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, it's probably not a good idea.
But you know what? It kind of leads me into kind of my last topic, and then this is my last thing. So I found out the NFL is going to release a schedule for the season Thursday night at 8 o'clock, I think, right? So some of the headlines to that, right? So at one point yesterday, they were saying that they may nix all of the international games, like the games in London,
right,
Mexico City, that kind of a thing.
Right.
And my initial thought yesterday was, what do you mean they're thinking about it? They should already have been nixing that weeks ago, or maybe even a month or 2 ago. That should have already been a thought. Like that, if that involves travel and crowds and things like that, then you're damn right. You can't play these games overseas, let alone we're trying to figure out our own situation here in the country. So that kind of ticked me off a little bit about yesterday. Today they officially said there'll be no games international. So they got that right. So the way they're approaching the schedule, same normal weeks, 16 games for all the teams. They're going to play this as if the season is going to start September 10th, which is a Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go that route. And I don't know, man. The NFL, we talk about, all the other sports leagues, being kind of, down due to this virus thing. And it seemed like the one league that is kind of taking advantage of its opportunity and has been able to maneuver itself better is the NFL.
But it's easy to do it in the off season too, though.
Right.
Yeah.
And it goes to that point that they're in the off season. It's easier to do it now. They did have to make revisions to the draft, and they did have to cancel off field parties and things like that. They had to cancel those kind of things. So they were able to do it, get through it and all that stuff. Now they got to get to, can they get these players out into the field and practice? And that's going to be the next step for the NFL. Thursday night, and I'm gonna watch the schedule show because I'm sure they're gonna make a whole big deal about it.
Oh, there's gonna be actual television viewing. I am 100%.
I am 100% confident that they're gonna turn this schedule release into a schedule release party show, whatever, because they've been doing it in the past.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They've had studio audiences. Like I remember one year on NFL Network, they had like a studio audience for the schedule release show.
Oh, I didn't know they did that.
So yeah, they did that. So
I'm definitely not going to watch it.
So I admit, because it's not going to be nothing on TV. All the shows, their season finales have been done already. I'm gonna watch the schedule release show. Worst case, I'll be on NFL.com looking to see the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I am interested to see, are they going to come out with option number 2, option number 3 of, if this schedule happens to get shifted. Like, let's say they had to start October 15th. Let's say they had to push the start back to October 15th. Then guess what? Now you got to figure out, are you going to put some games on Thanksgiving? Because that affects the schedule. Because if you're going to do that, are you still going to have Thanksgiving Day games? Are you going to shift those games to another week in the schedule? I think it's to the responsibility of the NFL to not just release their basic schedule of how they normally do it with the regular, they open up the Thursday after Labor Day. I think they got to come out with alternatives in the event that we're still shut down. And I know this is speculation, but everybody's talking about a second spread of this virus happening in the fall and the winter.
Right. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm sorry. You went out.
Go ahead.
No, you had went out, so I didn't hear you finish your point.
I can't hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, you were finishing your point, and I didn't notice that it went out as you was finishing your point.
Oh, okay. No, I was saying that there's speculation that there's going to be a second wave of this virus taking place in the fall into winter. And then I just saw the story yesterday about these murder hornets that have come from overseas to Washington State, I think. And apparently these are some deadly insects and stuff. So I don't know what to expect. And again, this is all speculation. I'm not trying to, get anybody scared or anything like that. But I think to drive the point home, the NFL can't just come out with this basic schedule. They have to come out with alternatives in the event that they can't start on time.
Yeah. Well, let me before I respond, let me go to Mocha Bella, who says just release the schedule and why they have to do a show about it. I don't want to see a 3-hour show about the NFL schedule. I'm only worried about my team. First and foremost, I agree with that 100%. I don't want to see a show of the schedule. I just don't care about it. And in regards to, let me make sure I'm understanding your point. Are you suggesting that they need to have a contingency plan in case this happens again, or something like that?
Yes, they do. They do have to have a contingency plan. They do need to have some kind of alternate plan in the event they have to start, let's say, October 15th instead of September 10th.
Do you think
because I think that affects. Go ahead.
Do you think they need to televise that or announce what their plans are if, in fact, that happens?
Well, they're going to.
Sure.
Whether I think they need to or not, I think they do. I mean, and the reason I say that is because the NBA has been giving updates. Major League Baseball has been giving updates.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't the big bad NFL do the same?
Right. Yeah, I hear you. I think for me in closing, to be honest with you, give me some. Let's be safe first. Let's do that. Let's know that we're safe for the time being. If it happens again, then it happens again, and we'll deal with it as it happens, just like we're dealing with it now as it happened. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't. It's not really. Yeah, there's no way that you could plan for a pandemic to happen, even if you just dealt with one. You know what I'm saying? Even if, like, let's say, God forbid, this pandemic's over in June, and then we get another one happens in September or even December for that matter. There's no real plan for that as far as how to televise games and you know what I'm saying? When it happens, you shut down, and hopefully you have enough time to finish it. And if you don't, then you got a season for the history books. I mean, it's looking like the NBA season is going to be a season for the history books, where you didn't play 82 games and you might not play a full 7 game per round playoff. It just might not happen. And and that's just what it's going to have to be if it ends up having to be that. And that's and you know what? I think what's more important than anything is safety and making sure that everybody is good and safe. That is most important than anything that's going on. And once we deal with that, then that be dealt with.
Have you heard LeBron's comments this past week?
No.
He says that this season cannot just end. Basically LeBron is saying this season has to continue at some point because I'm 35 years old. I'm still playing at a high level. I got to win a title at some point. And this is probably the best moment that I have at getting another title. That's basically what he said. I'm kind of paraphrasing. Yeah, I'm paraphrasing, but I think the real deal behind his comments is that he's on his last leg in terms of championships.
Yeah, he is on his last leg, but no, it don't. You're wrong. It don't have to. It can end just like this.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, one more question. Do you have a problem with how the NFL is approaching this coming season in terms of putting a schedule out? In terms of, I guess, maybe it doesn't seem like they're acknowledging that this thing could be, longer than, predicted.
No, I don't got a problem with it at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it at all. As long as they're being safe. As long as they're being safe. As long as they're not being a part of the problem. Yeah, as long as they're not being a problem.
Agree. 100%.
Well, look, I want to say thank you to all the listeners that joined us in the chat room. I want to say thank you to everybody who will catch it on demand on our website, www.barbershopsportstalkpodcast.com, or on your DSPs, Apple, Spotify, Google, etc. You can follow us on Instagram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. Trey Frazier at Trey Frazier and at Maestro Styles. Also on Twitter, you can follow Trey Frazier at Barbershop SPOR2 and at Maestro Styles on Twitter. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel and subscribed or liking the Facebook page. For Trey Frazier, this is Maestro Styles. We will see y'all next week.
Yes, sir. Peace.